Welcome back, Guardians, to another Destiny 2 Dream Team video. I'm your humble host, Cranky Crab. And today I want to talk about how high recovery made me a better player. Now, I think, like a lot of people, I like to go back and watch my highlight reels. It's fun. But I also like to go back and watch footage of my games and see what I did right or see what I did wrong. And recently I've been playing pretty well. Been getting 30 kills a game or more pretty consistently with a reasonably good KD. And as I went back and watched the footage, I realized there was one thing in particular that I was doing much better than I had before, and that's using cover. Now, using cover is a pretty basic tactic in a shooter, but Destiny is a shooter that encourages a lot of movement, a lot of fast-paced engagements, and using cover is something that takes discipline. And by its nature, Destiny doesn't encourage discipline. It rewards discipline, but I don't think it encourages it. It encourages fast play and risk taking, and that's part of what makes the game fun. So as I went back and watched the footage, I realized that what had happened is that now that I have high recovery, I'm trying to get everything out of that recovery. I'm trying to milk my high recovery, as it were, for everything that it's worth. I recently picked up Powerful Friends like a lot of people did, and that allowed me to spec my stats a little bit differently. So what I want you to see in this clip coming up here is how I use this cover. It's going to be a really unexciting little clip, but it's short. But I put it in here because I wanted you to see how tightly I hugged cover. I'm going to play the clip once and then play it back in slow motion just a little bit. So as I approach this doorway, I take a very thin slice of view where my opponents are. Here it is. I come around the corner, I take a very thin slice right here, and I see a guy. I take one shot and I'm already moving behind cover. And that's something we're going to talk about for a minute here, is pulling back into cover. I peek out, I find my target. There's the shot. I find my target. I crank one off. I go, nope, that's not a range I wanted to engage at. I'm going to go ahead and move on. You'll see a similar thing here, right? I take a small slice of the pie. I don't want to be able to be shot by two players, so I try to keep hugging this cover to the left. I end up getting this guy. I think I re-engage here and finish cleaning up, but you can see I keep taking very tight slices of pie right here, and I'm always, when I get into the engagement, I start pulling back into cover. You can see right there when I finally went down after 3 or 4 kills was the only time that I exposed myself to get shot by a third party. So hugging cover tightly is a really important thing that I've learned to do lately. And what I showed in that opening clip is that once I get my engagement, when my engagement starts, I'm already starting to move behind cover. If you wait until you're taking damage to start to move to cover, especially depending on how far out and exposed you are, you're already kind of behind the curve. Watch as I kind of just try to finesse this doorway. And I never really get kills here, but I keep putting damage on people. I make it uncomfortable for them so that they can't just get on to B. And since I'm a warlock, I've got the rift there. And eventually I'm allowed to just move up, and then I end up shotgunning these guys out of B. So as I was saying, if you're waiting to take cover, if you're waiting to take cover until you start taking damage, you're behind the curve. Here's the thing. If you're in a gunfight in Destiny, you're going to take damage. Almost guaranteed. There's a lot of good guns, there's aim assist, there's grenades, and there's all kinds of things that are going to do damage to you. You're not going to come out of a Destiny match unscathed, except for rare occasions maybe you won't die. But if you get into a gunfight, you're going to take damage. So what I've realized is that when I poke, I'm already thinking I want to milk this recovery. If I don't finish them, I don't care. Because with my high recovery, I'll be back in that gunfight possibly faster than they will, and I'll be at an advantage. And what I realized when I went back and watched these clips is the fact that I changed my recovery and that I was now conscious of it, and that I realized it was a valuable resource. It's not like I had a 3. I'm running like an 8 or a 9 or a 10 on recovery. So I know that that's going to kick in quickly and it's going to refill quickly, which allows me again to get into that fight faster. So as I started thinking about this and realizing why I had made the change, I realized, first of all, this is probably what I should have been doing before. I should have been using more discipline and using, and by discipline, I mean actual discipline, I don't mean grenade. But I should have been a more disciplined player and used my cover like this previously, but it hadn't really occurred to me. With low recovery, I think that I was just of this mindset that I needed mobility and speed, and I'm going to get in, and if I'm going to engage people aggressively and try to land my shots, and if I lose, then I lose. Well, there's probably a time and a place for that, but in a lot of duels, using cover will win you more fights than you think. It's definitely going to help your team more if you don't go down, but you put a bunch of damage on 2 or 3 opponents. Then your team can clean them up. You keep people discouraged from coming into an area that you're trying to protect, and so on and so forth. So I realized that it wasn't my intent when I set out to start using cover better. My intent was only, hey, I've got powerful friends, which gives me all this extra mobility, which will allow me to stack into something else even stronger. And I just unconsciously started using cover better to try to milk the recovery. So I was thinking that, recovery is kind of how you manage damage. Health is a resource like many other things in Destiny, and you have to manage your resources. And as I started thinking about the kinds of resources you have available, I realized that your super is probably the most obvious resource that could come to mind. You're not going to get your super more than a couple times in game unless you're running, some kind of really aggressive high intellect build with a bad juju or things of that nature. You're going to get a couple supers a game. Everyone who plays is going to get a couple. And so I think for most players, this might be one of the things that they consciously manage better. When you start to get close to getting your super, then you start thinking about how you're going to want to use it. Is it a shutdown super? Is it a slayer? Is it a bubble? How many opponents do you want to see before you pop that blade barrage? How many kills are you going to try to get with it? Are you content with 1, or are you trying to get a team wipe, or at least 3? Do you have a bubble? How many opponents, are you trying to take out opponents? Are you trying to protect an area? Do you want to bubble the heavy? Do you want to put a bubble on B or near the enemy spawn? I think that when you think of resource management, a lot of players consciously or unconsciously are putting thought into the use of their super, but all of the resources are actually like this. I think that health is probably the one that's taken for granted the most easily because it's the one that you're using the most frequently. You don't think about managing that resource. You're just in a gunfight. You're really watching their health more than you're watching your own, but you have to be conscious of your own as well. And if you're hugging cover closely, a third to 2/3 of the way into the gunfight, probably even a third of the way into the gunfight, you're probably going to know if you're going to win this gunfight or not. You're going to know if you're landing your shots, if they're landing their shots, if that's working in your favor. And if it's not, then if you stay close to cover, it's easy to just bail out on that. And if you have high recovery, then you know that you're going to be able to turn around and re-engage that much quicker. So if you find yourself getting into a rut, you feel like maybe you're not playing as well as you want to or as well as you think you should, number one, what I do, this is just my recommendation, is maybe record one of your sessions. And it's really easy to remember to record your session, or your game rather, when you've performed really well. That's easy, and it's always fun to go back and watch yourself do well, but it's probably equally as valuable, at least, maybe even more valuable, for you to record sessions that went bad. And I'll do that as well. There'll be times where I curse a particular weapon or how a particular situation played out in the moment. But then I go back and I watch it a day or two later, and I realized that I made a mistake, or I realized that something just unfortunate out of my control happened, and there was no reason for me to be concerned with it. I think that going back and watching your footage can be very helpful if your goal is to grow as a player. And here at TDT, that is our goal. We're all trying to become better players, and we've got a pretty diverse group of people and a wide range of skills. But one of the things that ties us all together is that we're always trying to improve. And so as I went back and watched this footage today, I realized that I might be able to help some people in our own clan or out there with our YouTube channel. Thank you all for your subscriptions and likes. We can't tell you how much we appreciate that. I thought maybe this would offer some help. I'm not a God tier player. Most of your your streamers and your YouTubers are god tier players. They do amazing things and it's fun to watch. But that's not the vast majority of us. The vast majority of us are average to above average, and we're trying to get better. And so I thought that for folks like that, for folks like myself, it might just be helpful to put this video out there, show you with the visuals kind of how I was using the cover, and then maybe encourage you to incorporate that into your own gameplay, because there's only one reason that we play video games and that we play Destiny, and that is for fun. So if you're not having fun, then there's no point in doing it. And for me, getting better and performing better is part of what makes this game fun. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe if you haven't, and click the bell to get those notifications. And thank you again to all our recent subscribers, all our subscribers, and for all the thumbs ups that we get. And we love the comments. So keep them coming, and we will catch you in the next one.